Welcome everyone to a casted game of Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the northwest corner of the map, playing in red. We've got Beastyqt playing on his Smurf account, but trust me, it's Beastyqt. He's playing as the Ottomans. And his opponent in the southeast, playing in blue, we've got Kiljardi, playing as the ayyubids. Welcome everyone to Hidden Valley. And a fascinating civilization matchup. The reason why I say it is because both civilizations can be aggressive. I feel like the Ayyubids is a bit more of a tempo-aggressive civilization compared to its parent civilization, the Abbasid dynasty. Obviously, not getting fresh foodstuffs or Fertile Crescent does mean they forego some of the eco bonuses that, you know, the Abbasids generally get. And they can pack a punch. But speaking of packing a punch, I mean, the Ottomans, no one really quite does it like the Ottomans, right? What's kind of interesting is that the Ottomans, they tend to come online at sort of the 15, 18-minute mark. That kind of time, because they obviously need to wait for some free units from the military school, which I think Beastie now is building his first one. There it is. So we'll be getting some spearmen as well, but factor in as well that the increased production speed comes into play in the Castle Age. Not to mention as well, they do get the Mehmed Imperial Armory. I'll be gathering some relics? No, not relics. We'll be getting the mangonels. But speaking of relics, of course, that's going to be important in the Castle Age. And there might be a bit of a mad dash, a mad race for that. I wouldn't be surprised to see a fast castle for both players. It can be possible. I wonder whether the Ayyubids might even go straight fast castle. The reason why I say that is they do have a very fast uptime. Especially when they leverage things like growth, the economic wing getting these extra 3 villagers, and then be able to scale it into the culture wing to get to the next stage 40% cheaper, and also a lot more quicker. And it almost does telegraph that it might be going for growth here, Kiljardi. The reason why I say that is because with growth, with the berry bushes, what you really want to do is make sure you don't actually completely destroy a berry bush, otherwise you won't get that 50 food. So if you actually play Age of Empires 4, if you play as the Ayyubids, taking note of how he's doing it here, you might feel like this is super inefficient. And in a way it is, but factor in he's actually going to make sure, as long as he doesn't, he's not going to lose this berry bush. As long as he doesn't take a single berry bush entirely, he will get the extra 50 food. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you factor in you might be going fast castle, every bit of food could be the big difference from you getting there and you not. Now, something that's kind of nice for the Ottomans is fast castle is not necessarily off the cards. Obviously, we're kind of hypothesizing a little bit here, and that's absolutely fine to do, especially on a map like Hidden Valley where both players are a little bit far away from each other. There's no real direct route, right? When you compare it to maps like Gorge, you can go straight down the middle. You can't really do that with Hidden Valley because of the 2 wood lines. So you have to go around the sides, and the distance to each other is just obviously a little bit more delayed. Now, the Ottomans getting a couple of spearmen, that does buy them some time. Gets a couple of free military units and might actually help them get to that castle age. Getting pushing in the deer as well. That's actually a nice play. In fact, he's going to use a spearman to push them in. I mean, it feels like a really nice opportunity here for Beastie to go for that castle age. Possibly gather some of the relics. And the reason why it's kind of strong for the Ottomans is Castle Age for the Ottomans is incredibly strong. It's really when they get the power spike in terms of production speed, especially if they get the blacksmith around their production buildings, which obviously the production speed scales per age. Hence why go to the Castle Age, the scaling will be a little bit more. The question is whether either player will go for an outpost, which could be a telltale sign of a Castle Age play. Now the UI is a little bit bugged, I'm afraid, with the Ayyubids, so you don't actually see the tech up coming in, but you can see by clicking on the House of Wisdom that it is certainly coming in. And it's going to be there very soon. And you'll see the berry bushes magically increased by 50. With that extra food. It's going to time it perfectly here. Only 10 food on this berry bush left. Yeah, good. 1 second there, timed it to a T. I only had 6 food on that, so well calculated. Wait, did he just... Ah, he missed one. That's unfortunate. That one actually went there in the end. Anyway, it's going to be opening up the stable, so it's going to be feudal age aggression for the Ayyubids. He's not going to want to let the Ottomans get away with a fast castle as much as possible. And, well, Beastie's just about to scout that, right? There's kind of telltale signs that he spots this. He's going to expect feudal age pressure. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Beastie maybe just commit to some production buildings because he's seen that, right? He's got kind of have to react. He doesn't have to react too quickly, though, because he has got spearmen already lined up. Courtesy of the 3 units from the military school. Our next port of call is an archery range, so definitely going to be a decent amount of feudal age aggression coming from Kiljardi, which is not untoward like we expect this from this type of player. He certainly has an aggressive style, So Kiljardi going to be looking to use a ayyubids a little bit aggressively today as well. Now, I hope you guys have been enjoying the content on YouTube and on Twitch. I've been streaming a lot more live on Twitch these days, so if you're watching on YouTube and want to drop in, say hi live, you're more than welcome to. And if you're on Twitch, the other way applies. If you want to see me when I'm offline, maybe you're bored, maybe you've got something to do, and you want to have me on the background, maybe check out some of the YouTube channels, or the YouTube videos rather, on the YouTube channel. Now with the walls going up, and the village on stone, that's telegraphing maybe just some more military schools, but more importantly, getting the static defences and the spearmen on the gold vein and an outpost. It is certainly going to be a fast castle build here from the Ottomans, and it's not too unsurprising, because he does have a fast gather rate of food on the deer camp that is right underneath his town centre. It should be a pretty fast castle timing on this, and it does mean the ayyubids have got a little bit pressuring to do if he's going to try and punish that. We'll see how much of the pressure he can apply. I think something that's super nice about the twin minaret madrasa, by the way, as well, it does make the villagers gather 50% faster, which is a pretty fast gather rate for food, and obviously food is a critical resource for the Castle Age timing. There's the blacksmith for Kiljardi, looking to get some of those upgrades, all important military upgrades. It does have a couple of eco ones as well with the wheelbarrow and double broadaxe. Speaking of upgrades though, Beastyqt definitely getting his too, with the gold mine upgrade coming in, and also horticulture. Now, something that's actually really scary about this matchup is the ayyubids. I don't necessarily see them get to the Imperial Age too many times in many games. The Ottomans, on the other hand, I've got to say, since Ozzy Drongo's Imperial Age madness, they've been doing it a lot more. They do have such a scary Imperial Age, the Ottomans. Mostly because of the Great Bombard. It also forces their opponent to think about alternatives to cavalry because, of course, the Janissary can get so much value. And it's something that's really special about the Ottomans. It does force their opponents into certain ways of playing. You always have to be careful about cavalry play going up against the Ottomans. You see a couple of Janissaries and it's a little bit scary. Of course, you can go for archers yourself, but then you're kind of having to take really good trades. It can be tricky. Speaking of archers, well, steeled arrows coming in, so definitely a good indication that the archer line is going to be a heavy part of the ayyubids army today. And interesting that both players are going for just the one town centre approach, and we do see the blacksmith coming up. And 8 minutes on the clock. It would still take a little bit more time for the Ottoman war machine to come online, but it does have a meta as well. That's definitely going to be a big part of that Ottoman war machine, but you can see the production buildings being built. They only cost 100 wood as well, so again, it scales really well to building a lot of those and be able to pump out units. Speaking about pumping out units, 17, 18 on the field for Kiljardi. He senses something's happening. He's going to be looking to be aggressive. Does get the fortification on the outpost. The outpost fully upgraded for a feudal age outpost. Horsemen going to be diving on that gold vein. Villagers do get pulled away. 5 villagers do garrison inside, and I think Beastyqt should be pretty safe. He's got a little bit more gold to get to the next stage. Now, the thing for Kiljardi really at this point is to deny gold income, right? When your opponent's looking to go to the Castle Age, they want to get those heavily armoured units. They want to get the man-at-arms. They want to get the lancers. But they can't do that without gold. So it's really important that Kiljardi decides to start focusing on that gold vein. And if you're Beastyqt in this mind, you're probably going to be thinking about alternatives to that gold vein. There are a couple of gold veins on the east side. And the reason why Fast Castle is such a strong position in this map is because on a lot of other maps, it's a lot more easier to deny gold. And it's primarily because of the fact that this middle ridge, it really impacts your ability to go on both sides of the map. Okay, so sure, Kiljardi has a lot of army on this left side and he's going to pressurize that with a ram and horsemen. But how does he get across the other side of the map? Beastyqt, he'll be quick to recognize this, and sure, he might even be able to defend this gold vein. But on many other maps, if he wasn't able to defend this gold vein, he'll be under so much problems. Like, he wouldn't be able to afford any heavily armored units. But the fact remains, in this map, he can go across and just get this gold vein over here. And as long as he gets gold, he's going to be getting those heavily armored units. Still, having said that, it's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be a little bit dicey. Although, if the villagers torch this down, you're going to get a good few torches. Then the push will be holding. I won't be able to push too far forward. Beastyqt, though, he does need to get that age quickly. He's only got 4 villagers building it. He needs to focus on economy as well, because he doesn't want to get to the next stage and have no economy to make units. Population capacity does get reached. And, well, he's just going to have to start making sure that he gets units quickly. Kiljardi's going to need to get some population space, because he's going to need to pump out units. But we're heading to the stage of the game where Kiljardi needs to make sure he doesn't lose his army entirely. Because if he does lose the army and doesn't get critical damage, then, well, he's going to be faced up against an Ottoman castle age. And considering the number of units he's being making, obviously the ayyubids are going to be very far away from the castle age. Something that's actually really nice about the ayyubids, though, at this stage, is sure, okay, if they take a bad fight and they're pressurized, their castle age is not as far away as you think, especially when you factor in going up with the culture wing. Going to cost 850 food and 450 gold, but still, you don't want to be going up against the castle age Ottomans with you still in the feudal age. So Kiljardi needs to play it patiently, he needs to try to do some damage, but also not throw away his army, and we can see Beastyqt already transitioning onto the gold in the north. And that's going to be putting him in a really strong position, because he does have a barracks already online. He can toggle, I don't think he can toggle to man at arms just yet, but what we can see is man at arms being produced. And also, quite possibly, a couple of lancers. Now, there aren't any spearmen, right? This is actually a bit of a concern for the ayyubids, because if the ayyubids had some spearmen, obviously it kind of counteracts the lancer play. But this sort of situation, Kiljardi is going to be faced up against lancers, going to be faced up against man-at-arms. It doesn't really matter. They're both heavily armoured units. They're going to get so much value, and that's a bit rough for Kiljardi and the ayyubids. It's going to get a secondary ram, so it's really committing to this feudal age push. Could possibly build a third one. We'll see if he is so bold as to do that. Now, Beastie, he just needs to time this perfectly right. He needs to wait for the opportune moment to attack. He needs to make sure he doesn't attack too early, because if he does lose the heavily armoured units, firstly, they're expensive, but he's going to lose his production capabilities. The blacksmith going down is actually quite critical. You might be wondering, why would you target the blacksmith? Well, this building is going to be boosting up the production speed of all the other buildings, and so it's actually quite critical to do that. He's going to take out the stable next, and, well, Beastie's he's treading a fine line. He's got to make sure he doesn't lose too many of these, because he doesn't have that much wood in the bank to be able to make more production buildings. Now, granted, they aren't as expensive. They only cost 100 wood, right? But still, you don't want to lose too many of these. It's going to get a mangonel. It's going to be a good minute and a half, though. Question is whether they can hold on for that long. Getting an outpost here as well, and that's actually a smart play. Like, although it's unlikely that Kiljardi is going to venture on that other side of the map, you can never be too sure. You've got to be careful, and that's the primary source of gold coming in for Beastie. Has the presence of mind to bring in a couple of relics as well. And I mean, this shows you the caliber of player, right? Beastie's not arguably the best player in the world for no reason. Under all this pressure, he actually gets a relic in, which is absolutely insane, right? Golden Age Tier 2 comes in for the ayyubids. That will mean he'll get the increased research speed of 50%. And up against 45 military units, Kiljardi, I mean, he's going to do some damage. He's going to take out the military school as well. Although, actually, Willie, there are villagers repairing. I'm not so sure. I think slowly but surely Beastie's going to take the fight. It feels like he has enough with those man-at-arms and lancers. I think he's got enough. He's going to take out the ram first just to make sure the military school doesn't go down, and then he's going to focus on the army. Ultimately, there are archers here for Kiljardi. The damage output on these guys is going to be absolutely minimal. I think at this point, Kiljardi just needs to take those archers, try and kill as many of these villagers as possible, because ultimately, they're not going to get any value on this army. The man-at-arms way too tanky. They've got iron undermesh, and that's all they need. The meta getting involved as well. Yeah, these archers they're gone. He's got to find a way to get as much value out of these as he possibly can. Sniping out the meta possibly. Beastie gets the presence of mind to pull those back, and he might just dive this wood line as much as he can. If he can just get one villager, gonna try and snipe the meta as much as possible. I love that play by Beastie rather. He pulls the meta on the west side just to try and draw the archers. Kiljardi doesn't take the bait, but ultimately there aren't that many. Mangonel deploys as well. I mean, he might get one villager in the end. And, that's probably as much as he can hope for. Yeah, he's only going to... Is he going to get two? He might just about get two. He does get two. That's actually a good picking, though, I've got to say. Like, all things considered, a lot of players would have just lost those archers for free. Particularly this on the north. He's focusing on this area as well. He's going to take out production buildings. Does he spot the gold? I don't think it necessarily matters at this point, because he's got a critical mass of man-at-arms to push this away. But that northern push, definitely strong there for Kiljardi. He's going to have to back away now, though. Now, the tables have turned. The pendulum has swung. Ayyubids, they've got to get to the castle age really quickly. Now, bear in mind the eco's a little bit of a mess here for Kiljardi. Obviously, he was focusing a lot in the feudal age. A Wallow going. A bit of a taunt there by Beastie. It's kind of funny to see at times, but it's got to be infuriating if you're up against that. Gets the meta, which is a nice pick off. Maybe he was focusing too much on the wall layer there, Beasty. Losing the meta pretty cheaply. Oh, quick wall's coming up. You'll have to see it. Oh, will it go up? He doesn't quite just. And, well, going to get maybe 1 or 2 villagers. Villagers have to come off for wood. To be fair, he's got plenty of wood anyway. It's probably just as well. Beasty's doing him a favor. His villagers need to be retoggled onto something else. Maybe some farms. He's got way too much wood. You know why it's happening, though, of course, because he obviously toggled his town center to wood, considering that he was getting a lot of rams, but he needed to switch that over onto something else a little bit earlier, potentially, because he's still in that feudal age. What he desperately needs now is food and wood. There's still deer there for the taking. He's out onto the berries with an outpost. Now, behind all of this, Beasty's probably scaling up again, getting those production buildings, the triple military school play with the blacksmith. In fact, there's a quadruple military school. So he certainly used a vizier point to get the extra military school, and he's going to get a lot of free units. This is where it becomes really scary for the ayyubids. He's got to make sure he's got a standing army. Don't forget, he can't just go straight naked into the castle age. He lost his army. He's got to get another one. He's got to find a way to get to that castle age. On the east side, there are a lot of man-at-arms. Yeah, this is rough because factoring these heavily armored units can't be countered. I mean, the lancers can be, like, sort of with the spearmen. Again, fighting castle age units versus feudal age units, even against their direct counter line, still a bit tricky. But the man-at-arms, that is a huge problem to deal with. Going to try and get the walls repaired. Will he get it? Oh, just about, maybe. I don't think there's going to be enough repairing coming out from there. The torches, they do go through, and man-at-arms are going to dive on those villagers. This is looking rough for the ayyubids. The man-at-arms are going to dive in, and there's a decent amount of units here for kiljardi. But again, these guys are so tanky, even fighting underneath the town centre. Ultimately, it should be a clear out for kiljardi, but he will be suffering some losses. And take a look at this. Beasty with the presence of mind just to send a couple of man-at-arms on the west side on that food eco extension, making sure those villagers are idle. You'd love to see this play. It seems simple, but I mean, if you guys play Age of Empires 4 yourself, to have the presence of mind to do all of these things at once, to get man-at-arms on the east side to break through, to make sure your opponent is focused on that, bringing all the army home, so that you can then pressurize on the west side, keep villagers idled, which is 5 of them, which is, you know, a tenth of the economy. That's a significant number at this stage of the game. Man-at-arms, again, still getting value. Now, ultimately, they didn't necessarily kill as many villagers as he maybe wanted to, but he just got so much more value out of killing the military and also idling the economy on the west side. He's on the deer campaign on the south, and that's a big chunk of the food income coming in. Now, Beasty, behind all of this, walling up, stone walling up as well, making sure he's got the map secured. He's already got 2 relics in the bag, getting a 3rd one as well, and this is looking smooth for Beasty. I've got to say, the fast castle pulled off to a T. Archer numbers looking a bit scary, but again, you have to question how much this scales into the castle age. He needs to get it because he needs to survive in the feudal age. And I suspect he's going with the culture ring now. Yeah, that is indeed the case. Got it in time. 5 seconds. I mean, at this point, I wonder how much that's worth it, actually. He's got it anyway, but with a lot of food coming in now with that farming transition, he's got to make sure he gets out to gold. I think gold is the kind of army limiting factor, especially with the wars. It makes it a little bit less efficient if he was to get more villagers on this gold vein. Of course, he has to get the walls up. No option about that. And he will be looking to get the veterancy on the archers. Not necessarily something that Beasty will be too worried about. Going archers against the Ottomans is always a bit precarious, especially when you factor in they get 3 mangonels, right? Possibly even a 3rd coming out soon. In fact, yeah, that 3rd one did just come out. Hey, take a look at that. I'm really good on my timings, aren't I? I'm a modest caster too. But yeah, getting that 3rd mangonel and this sort of timing is super important because all these archers, like, you can't engage. It's just, you can maybe micro against 1 mangonel, possibly. 2 at a push if you're really good, if you're a Lucifer on a Vortex, maybe. Maybe even a kiljardi could do it. I mean, yeah, generally players this caliber could potentially do 2 mangonels, but 3rd one, then you're really playing with fire. Mangonel deploys. The meta beating at the drums, and take a look at this. It's going to be an Imperial Age for the Ottomans. This is where Ottomans become really scary. I feel like Aussie Drongo was the first one to do this sort of strategy, and boy has it changed the way the Ottomans are played. The Great Bombard, they're going to be becoming a real issue, and the Stone Walls buys them so much time. Kiljardi, he doesn't have an answer to this anytime soon, and even if he tries to break through, well, there are 3 mangonels. Mangonel's just about to deploy. He does. Oh, that's going to be rough. I mean, yeah. Just... That's the first warning. And Beasty's saying, look, get off my walls. Those are my walls. There's no way through here. The Istanbul Observatory just about to go up. Imperial Age coming in at a very nice time. And, of course, Kiljardi's nowhere near that, which you wouldn't expect him to be. Although with that food income coming in, it's looking pretty nice for him. Now, the question is whether Kiljardi behind this, does he go for a full Castle Age aggression? Does he look to try and get to the Imperial Age himself? I've not seen a lot of late game ayyubids, not a lot of super late game Imperial Age ayyubids, but I don't know if they factor in well against the Ottomans. I think the Ottomans just have a lot going for them, especially with siege crews and getting the siege on the map. They're just better. Especially when you factor in the Great Bombards, they start to come out and the splash damage that they do can be pretty devastating. It's getting a couple of rams, probably the quickest way to get siege on the field, considering they can build them on the field themselves with the infantry. It does feel rough there for Kiljardi, because he doesn't really have much in terms of a one-up. Like, he doesn't have a tech advantage, he doesn't have an eco advantage. Sometimes, often you see in Age of Empires 4 is when one player has a tech advantage, the other player has an eco advantage. It's not the case. Beastie has a similar eco, and it's just it's about to get the tech up advantage as well with the elite upgrades coming in. There's the elite man-at-arms, and that's going to be very difficult for the ayyubids to deal with. He's got Gulam, but he never really transitioned to crossbows. We do see 1 or 2 crossbows coming out now, and it's probably a smart move. He's getting springalds as well. He's got to make sure he takes out the mangonels. The big concern is the ayyubids have got a heavily infantry-based army. And whilst the Gulams won't necessarily take devastating damage from the mangonels, well, the crossbow and the archers will. The ram's going to start working on that stone wall, and it should be getting in pretty quickly, but you got to say, if he does get in, or when he gets in, he's going to be a bit scared about what's facing him. Because there's a decent number of siege, although there's no great bombards just yet. There aren't that many units, by the way, 29 military versus 70. So BC has to be a little bit careful, but these are elite man-at-arms. I think the time is now. The ayyubids probably have to push right now. If they don't, if they leave this any longer, with more elite units coming in, that will be a problem. Beastie, though, he needs to buy time. I don't think Beastie engages here. I think he needs to back off and out. Although with 3 mangonels could be okay. 2 springles, snipe out the first mangonel. 4 mangonels, in fact. Mangonels do deploy on the archers there, on the springles. Those gulams going to be focusing on the man-at-arms. A couple of meta there as well, going to be healing up. Well, those man-at-arms are doing well. They're doing well against the gulam. Is there an imam there? Why are they healing? Yeah, there are a couple of imams there, hiding underneath the tree. Camouflaged. But the gulam's trying their best to hold the front lines. Does lose one of the meta. Will look to try and keep the others alive. I mean, it will be overrun here a little bit, Beastie, but needed to buy some time anyway. Still a decent number of man-at-arms still alive, and the archers won't be able to gain much value. Crossbows doing decently, though. Beastie does have to head back, but we do hear notifications on the map. Where is he fighting elsewhere? On the east side. Trying to get those walls up in the end, but looks to be denied there a little bit by Kiljardi. That's a lot of Gulam that heading forward. Beastie, once again in the game, with the tech up advantage, being a bit greedy with that. He needs to defend this. If he does defend this push, it should put him in a good spot, but Kiljardi looking to focus, and he needs to take out the mangonel. He's got to get through somehow. Being body blocked out of it, though. A couple of the Gulams do get round those army, and he will jump on the mangonel, but damage is always kind of almost done there. We'll get us around the mangonel. He needs to just swipe at it. So it's, oh, could it be a big shot? Micros that well there, Kiljardi, just to get out of the way there with those archers. Now those Gulams going to go right into that woodline. Villagers have to back away there for the Ottomans, but the elite man-at-arms. Oh, this is worrying. Okay, he's going to trade the Gulams for villagers, or the villagers for Gulams maybe. Oh, maybe he didn't dive. Okay, I was expecting Beastie to dive that. There's a decent number of crossbows, but those archers were there for the taking with those elite man-at-arms. Beastie, though, is playing it patiently with the second town centre as well. That is so greedy. He's going to go for the tech up with the Imperial Age and a second town centre. But I love the positioning. I think it's more about the positioning of a static defence rather than villager output, because it will protect that wood line. It's going to dive right underneath that town centre. Keep a lot of the villagers idle inside the town centre. That might just allow Kiljardi to get to the Imperial Age himself. He needs to. There is a mangonel. He does get sniped in the air, but it got critical damage. Look at the dead bodies there for the ayyubids. Not only are they dying underneath the arrow fire, but a lot of them died to that mangonel. And now he's thin on the army. Down to 17 military. Beastie, he held on, and he's held on really well. Not only that, he's got second town centre, so whilst he has taken some villager damage, he's lost 20 in total. Well, he'll be able to boom back up again. A great game of Age of Empires 4 so far, and he's going to get a lot of rams on the field as well. Maybe make a push for his late Castle Age. Kiljardi, he needs to get a killer blow soon though, because this Ottoman Empire war machine is about to come online. Don't forget he's got 3 units. Don't underestimate how strong that is. If you get a man-at-arms, there's 120 resources coming in for free from some of these military schools. Although he's actually toggled on to spearmen. I think he just maybe forgot to toggle this one onto man-at-arms because that's probably the showpiece unit for the Ottomans in the late game. Add in some siege and then you're in trouble. There are the bombards. There's the first one, and Beasty's big bombard just about to cause havoc here on the map. And it feels like even with this number of rams, I mean, the bombard should be able to take them out within a couple of shots. What's really concerning for the ayyubids is the military numbers. Take a look at this. The war machine really online. The Ottomans coming in with 41 military units with a tech advantage, with an eco disadvantage, but with this tech advantage and the number of military units he has, this is looking rough. On the east side, the presence of mind, Beasty using the flanks, keeping the eco exposed, and gold is going to become an issue for the ayyubids. He's only got 48 in the back. This is looking bad. This is looking really bad for Kiljardi. Has a second town centre on the south, but he doesn't have gold income. Pushed away from gold is a big deal on this stage of the game. Gold is king. Gold is what wins games, unless you're playing as a Japanese. But that's a story for another day. Trying to get a keeper on the east side, which should go up, although there are a couple of man-at-arms chasing. I'm not so sure if the villagers do garrison outside the outpost. And these, I mean, my God, we'll have to hold the phone because the main fight is on the west side. Gulams versus the man-at-arms. Trying to get a keep there. A couple of crossbows on the back line. It looks like BC should take this fight and win it. There's a great bombard. That keep won't be able to stand up for too long. Great bombard. Focusing on the military. Take a look at the splash damage. Did so much damage, and that damage is going to be enough there for Beasty. He takes the game. He wipes out Kiljardi. The ayyubids, they weren't strong enough to take on the Ottomans. Beasty held on twice with a greedy tech up. Hope you guys enjoyed the casted game. If you're watching on YouTube, give the video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Take care, and see you next time.